down. We might use a common word that might have a general meaning or a multiple meaning, or in English, we might say that it's mostly ambiguous, right? Yes, but depending on the context and the situation and the audience and the main reason for the gathering, you can use that to let them understand what you really want them to understand. Okay. And it also uses some contextual cues that relies on the situation, the background, and some the tone that you are using and all of that. Okay. Yes. So depending on the main agenda and what you seek to express or what you seek to talk about. Okay, so you can use the ordinary language to say them. Okay, so one thing I want you to understand about the ordinary language is that it is used by economists so that those not in the field or those that have not had any opportunity to study economics at any level of education, for them to understand it properly. Okay, so you can use examples, or if you want to talk about inflation, you can't just go to your grandmother and tell her inflation, or your mom or your dad who has no knowledge or hasn't even gone to school and talk about inflation, or talk about GDP and expect them to understand. Yeah, no. So you can use the ordinary language to break it down to their level so that they can understand what you are trying to say. Right. Yeah. Then let's quickly go through the advantages of the ordinary language. One, we are saying that it allows us or economics teachers to communicate our thoughts and our feelings in a natural, spontaneous, and expressive way to even those non-economists. Yeah, so for us as economists or teachers or educators in the subject called economics, it helps us to communicate our thoughts and our feelings, or the main aim or the objective in just a natural, spontaneous way, express ourselves in any form of voice, in a normal, not use our technical terms. Like it helps us to be ordinary, okay, to be who we are, ordinary or just in a normal level, so that we can express ourselves for non-economists to understand what we really want them to understand. Then we can also see that it creates that kind of rapport or connection between the people that they share the same language or the culture. So imagine that you are Minister of Finance and you want to understand how the local boys in the hood, okay, the boys in the neighborhood, how their expenditure patterns are like, and how they they experience inflation, and how their emotional stuff concerning inflation, most of the things that they go through concerning inflation. And these people speak pidgin, right? So you can't just go to them and start like telling them our technical words. They're actually going to be bored, and they're not going to enjoy the conversation, right? So you can use the ordinary language to establish that rapport. Just go, you speak pidgin, you speak their same language, and throughout that, it creates that rapport relationship between you and them, so that they can probably understand and give you that feedback that you expect from them. Right. Yes. So in the same context, let's say that you have gone to a typical fancy market, okay, like Abra or Tokraba, and you want to know how these market women, their changes in suppliers as a result of a change in price. You can't just go there and do yourself, like make yourself or speak so much English. Okay, right. So in that context, you have to speak fancy, you have to break it down for them to understand. And throughout that, they create that rapport that makes the people feel um okay and feel safe with you so that they can share some of the vital information that you are looking for. Yeah, so that's why we are saying that the ordinary language established that rapport and connection with people. And we're also saying that one other advantage is that it provides room for creativity and diversity in the making of the meaning of economics. One reason why we are saying that is that it provides room for creativity and diversity is that before you can use the ordinary language, you first of all have to understand that technical term. You have to know the meaning of it, right? And throughout the meaning you become creative enough to break it down using the ordinary language, right? So two economists or two teachers in economics might want to break the term like GDP, okay, but based on their own understanding and their level of creativity and the context, the main purpose of the gathering and the situation in which they find themselves, their level of creativity will be different, especially when they are trying to make the people understand, right? So let's say two economists meeting fancy people and northerners, you don't expect their level of creativity to be the same, right? Yes. So it actually provides room for creativity for us to be creative enough to break the technical words down so that the audience will be able to appreciate whatever thing that we are doing. Then we come to the disadvantages of the ordinary language. Yeah, it can be ambiguous. As soon as we say ambiguous or ambiguity, it's just a word that has several different meanings. Like one same word has different meanings. Yes. So because if we are using the ordinary language, we are tempted to use a particular word in our quest to break it down for the local people to understand. But that particular word might have several meanings, okay? Several different meanings. And it can sometimes be inaccurate and misleading. Okay. Um, so let's say you want to talk about supply, elasticity of supply, okay, elasticity of supply or elasticity of demand. I want to break it down to the local people. You know that sometimes you might not, the way a manner that you break that term down, it might not measure the degree with which that technical term needs. Okay. Elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness of quantity demand of goods and services to the price of the good in question, to the price of other related commodities and the consumer's income. But as we are using the ordinary language, you might be tempted to leave the consumer's income out or the price of other related goods out and just talk about the price of the good in question, right? Which might sometimes be inaccurate and misleading, okay, in our quest to explain the abstract or the complex economics concept. And it can sometimes be influenced by subjective or emotional feelings or assumptions that might not always reflect reality. Okay, because it is based on the individual economist, how he or she understands the concept and how best the person can break it down to meet the purpose of the meeting and the audience which are targeted. It's more or less influenced by your own subjective or emotional biases or assumptions. What you feel that yes, this is the right way of breaking it down is how you break it down. Okay, so it's more or less influenced by own subjective or emotional biases, but not an objective approach. Okay, and this may sometimes not reflect reality or what is really happening on the ground. And now it's actually very important for us. Yes, as I'm training you to become future economist and also teach economics in the senior high school level. It's very important for us to look at the teaching implications of the ordinary language. Yeah, so one, we use the ordinary so as teachers, okay, or as upcoming lecturers. I know most of you do your masters and you do your PhDs very soon. Yeah. So as teachers, as lecturers, we can use the ordinary language to introduce new but complex topics. You know that in senior high school, we have topics that are assumed to be very difficult and complex. Example could be national income. So as teachers or as economics teachers or lecturers, we can use the ordinary language to introduce these new topics which are complex. In our quest to use the ordinary language, we break the complex topics down so that the students will not feel scared about the new topic that it's assumed to be complex, but rather they can properly understand. We should also provide opportunities for our students to use the ordinary language, but appropriately in different contexts. We have instances whereby teachers shut students down or yell at students when they are using the ordinary language. You should understand that these kids or these learners are now learning to adapt or know the things in the discipline, right? So you don't expect them to be superly perfect in their communication of the technical terms. Okay, so we should provide that opportunities for them to use the ordinary language, but more importantly, it should be appropriate in different contexts. So we should guide them as how and when to use the ordinary language. Okay. We should also encourage our students to ask questions, clarify their doubts, express their opinions using the ordinary language in the classroom. Yeah. So as teachers, don't instill fear in your students. Okay, don't do that. We have so many lectures that will make you feel like you can never pass a course or you can never get an A in economics or these are unprofessional practices. Okay, so we should allow them to ask questions, create that environment of opportunities that they are friendly, that they can ask questions and clarify their doubts, because it's because of them that you are being employed. Okay, because we have certain instances that the students cannot even cough in a lecture hall. They can't even turn. They can't. No, like it's just so unprofessional, and that's not facilitate learning. Okay, so we should encourage them to ask questions, clarify their doubts, express their opinions in the using the ordinary language in the economics classroom. We should also relate the ordinary language to economies, okay, as our students progress from one level to the other. Okay, so in as much as we are allowing them to use the ordinary language, we should create that link between the ordinary language and the economies as they progress from one learning stage to the other, so that they can be able to understand the differences and how similar they are. We should also acknowledge the controversies and the limitations in the use of the ordinary language. We shouldn't hide it from them. One way I can make a student understand issues better is not hiding it from them, but you exposing it to them, allowing them to understand the nitty-gritties of all of them, look at the pros and cons, the advantages and disadvantages, and throughout that, you can guide them in the usage of the online language. And now we come to the next type of the languages used in economics, which is the economies. So as soon as you hear economies, okay, it just refers to the jargons or the specialized language or the technical terms that are used by economists. Okay, so it could be acronyms, graphs, equations, economic models, abbreviations, or technical terms, okay? And with the economies, they are very difficult for non-economists to understand. If I say non-economists, I mean people that have not had any formal education in economics, or they don't have any in-depth knowledge in economics. So these are non-economists, right? So the economies are sometimes very difficult for non-economists to understand. Yeah. Now, examples of them, as soon as you talk about price elasticity of demand, any ordinary person who has no knowledge in economics will not understand. But for us, we know that it's actually a degree of responsiveness of quantity in demand of goods and services to the price of the good in question. Cross elasticity of demand is the degree of responsiveness to quantity demand of goods and services into the price of other related goods. And income elasticity of demand is also the degree of responsiveness to quantity demand of goods to the income of the consumer. So all of these um technical terms will not be understood by everyone, okay, but we understand what it is. As soon as we talk about utility, for us, we understand utility as a satisfaction that an individual derives from the consumption of a good. But those in the ordinary people understand utility as the water bills or electricity bills, right? Yeah. So this is what we are talking about when we talk about economies. And now let's quickly look at the features of economics. One, it uses technical terms that have specific meanings. So unlike the ordinary language that have different meanings, the economies have one specific meanings. Opportunity cost, marginal utility, elasticity, and all of that. These have specific meanings in economics. And sometimes we can use graphs to illustrate or analyze a behavior of people. Let's say with the demand function, as soon as you solve your demand function and get your answer, you can use it to plot a graph. Okay, you have so many types of demand as well, right? Complementary goods, complementary demand, and all of that. So we use all of these graphs to illustrate these relationships as well. And it also uses empirical data and statistics to support argument. And right from the onset of this lecture, I defined what hypothesis is. Hypothesis is just a logical guess that could be proved and disproved. Okay, so in economies, we use the empirical data to support our arguments because you can't just say anything just like that. Okay, you have to present the evidence to support the argument that you want to talk about. Yeah. And now let's go to the advantages of economies. So it allows us to express our ideas and knowledge in a clear, concise, and consistent way. Because we are saying that it helps us to express our ideas and knowledge in a clear, concise, and consistent way, in such a manner that as an economist in Ghana, and if there is an economist in Nigeria or US or whatever, as soon as we say utility. The meaning of utility in Ghana is the same meaning of utility in US. Like it is clear, it is concise, it is consistent. In inflation, the meaning of inflation in Ghana is the same meaning of inflation elsewhere. So it helps us to like communicate our ideas in that clear, concise, and consistent way, right? It also enables us as economists to use mathematical tools and methods to analyze that complex um, economic relationships and situations. Right. So in our last lecture last week, we talked about the economic models where we looked at endogenous variables and exogenous variables, right? Yes. And I use the instance of a demand function as an example to clarify what endogenous variables and exogenous variables are. And we use that to look at that relationship that individuals have together. With the example I created, that wanted to know whether your income level changes as a result of changes in your educational level. So will a PhD holder get the same income as a degree holder, or will a master's holder get the same income as a diploma holder? So we can use the mathematical tools or the mathematical models to analyze this relationship, okay, to analyze situations in the economy. Yeah, so we can also make some evaluations of different economic theories and policies based on our logical reasoning and the empirical evidence that we have. Yeah, so we can talk about some other disadvantages of economies. It can be very difficult for people not economists to understand. So for some of us, we like to listen to the business news segment of TV3 or Joy Prime or all of that. But with some people that they are not well versed in that area, they'll see it to be boring and it's not going to be interesting and they won't even understand anything that they are saying. Yes. So as soon as we use the economies, it's very difficult for non-economists to understand. And it can sometimes oversimplify and ignore the real world complexities or uncertainties or the shocks that occurs in real life. Okay. So you know that in using the economies, we make assumptions, all other things being equal, or ceteris paribus. So in our quest to make state these theories and laws, we sometimes oversimplify certain things and we do not look at the uncertainties and the shocks that could occur. No economic model or theory model that we will experience COVID-19, right? Yes, so sometimes we over simplify some of the relationship that occurs in real life and which does not measure the shocks and the complexities of life, right? And it can also be influenced by politicians. Okay, most of the times people with the political power usually have influence in economical decisions in a particular country, right? Yeah, so it's all of these are some of the demerits of economics. And now, more importantly, it's very necessary for us to look at teaching implications of economics. One, before we can let the students understand, we have to define, explain the technical terms to our students. So we have to, for example, with the demand function, we have to explain it to our students why there's a negative sign between price and demand. What does that mean? Okay, why is it that there's a minus side but not a positive side? Okay, so if we make our students understand the relationship, why it is P, why it is QD, why it is that, why it is that, they can be able to properly understand the technical terms. We should also provide opportunities for them to practice economies. Okay, we shouldn't say that, oh, this student will never be perfect in the use of economy, so we should just leave them. No. However, we should provide that opportunities for them to use them. We should also encourage them to ask questions, clarify their doubts, and express their opinions about economies, concepts, and issues. We have some lecturers that are bored when students ask them questions. And I'm just wondering why is it so? Because yes, we assume that the students are not a tabula rasa, right? At least the student has an experience or something. However, you are in that position that you know more than the student, right? So you shouldn't get bored if a student is asking a question. However, we should encourage them to ask and clarify their doubts and express their opinions about economics concepts. And for them to understand and keep it in their long-term memory, we have to relate it to real-world situations. Okay. So is it that in educational psychology, we have so many levels of learning. Okay, so we have the short-term memory and the long-term memory. For the student to get these concepts in the long-term memory, one effective mechanism is that you relate whatever thing you're teaching to real-world situations that they can be able to appreciate whatever thing that you're talking about. So that's why I know that most of you have heard of RPK, re- relevant previous knowledge, right? That before we introduce the topic, we can use their RPK to introduce the topic. Therefore, the students will realize that, okay, so all this while he or she has been practicing the economics, but he or she didn't know, right? So your ability to relate the economy to real world situations will better improve understanding. We should also reward students when they use these complex jargon. Okay, we should provide incentives. Well done, excellent, you are doing so well. That's a good attempt. Yeah, you should encourage them. Even if we can really buy anything, just your words of encouragement, your motivations really count. It really, really counts. Because there have been several instances that students have felt extremely bad and their spirit have really gone down because of a comment passed by a lecturer or a teacher, right? So we have to be so very, very careful when we are communicating to them. And the last one is the mathematical language. Okay, so in economics, we use maths to help us to be more concise and precise in our endeavors, right? So we use it to express the theories and analyze problems in a precise and logical way. So as soon as you are done solving the price elasticity for a good or the cross elasticity for a good, you get a final answer, right? And that makes it more precise. You get a value of 2, 3, 20,000, 10,000, whatever value that you can get. And that makes recommendations more specific that as prices increase from 5 cities to 10 cities, then demand for water will also increase or reduce by 4 cities. Yeah, so it actually makes it more specific for us using the mathematical language. And with the advantages of the mathematical language, it allows us for more precision and clarity in expressing economic concepts and relationships. Okay, it also helps us to quantify and measure economic phenomenon outcomes. Could you imagine how we could be able to quantify stuff in economics without the mathematical language? It could have been very difficult for us. And also, it also provides basis for further interpretation and solutions to economic problems. And now, let's quickly look at the merit of mathematical language. If you are a teacher, there was an instance or scenarios that economics teachers that were not good in math, they were escaping from the topics that are much related, like national income. Most economics teachers were like, "You're okay." They would just ask students to read the concept that involves math because they themselves are not good in it. Yeah. So it actually makes it difficult for teachers to deliver economics concepts, especially if they are not mathematically inclined. Yeah. And the other critics have also said that it is the math language that adds up to the abstractness of the subject or the discipline economics. So wherever that you hear someone saying that, oh, economics is difficult, it's because of the math added to the subject. Yeah, so with that, it makes the subject more abstract and all that. Okay. All right. So we talked about the language used in economics, and we said that just as every field of study has its own language, just as lawyers, just as nurses, doctors, engineers have their own specialized language. That is the same thing that we as an economist also have a specialized language. Okay. And this language um, helps us to express our thoughts in a logical and concise manner. We have three types of languages. We have the ordinary language, we have the economies, and we have the mathematical language. And we said that with the ordinary language, it helps us to be able to communicate to other non-economists. Okay, it helps us to express our thoughts in a normal or um, in a ordinary way that other people will understand. And I use the instance of you meeting some ghetto youth and you want to understand their expenditure patterns or their behavioral changes as a result of changes in price. I don't think you go there and use a technical term. You try and bring that technical term into pidgin so that they can understand and give you the responses that you are looking out for, right? Then I cited another instance that let's say you go to a fancy local market where you have the local market women and men, or you go to a typical Ga market area. and you want to understand how these local people are affected by inflation, I don't think you go and use elasticity of demand. You use these terms. No, you have to use the ordinary language to break it down for them to understand, right? And we said that as teachers, one teaching implication of the ordinary language is that we should allow, or we can use the ordinary language to introduce new but complex topics. So as soon as we realize that this is a topic that students find themselves wanting, or it is perceived that complex, we can use the ordinary language to introduce these topics so that they can understand them. Okay. And we before I go to the economies, I want to create a clear distinction here. If we say teaching implications, okay, we are not talking about just importance, because most of it are not with the students that I've handled over the years, they most at times deviate from questions concerning teaching implications. Teaching implications is not about the importance of that concept you are looking at. In this scenario, you are looking at the ordinary language. So if we say that teaching implication of ordinary language, we are not really looking at, or we are not so much focused about the importance of the ordinary language. We are looking at the roles that the teacher or the student should play in order to achieve that advantage or that importance of the ordinary language. So if you can really study the point that I said, we know that in the ordinary language, it helps us to express our thoughts in a natural or spontaneous way, or it helps us to create the rapport between non-economists, right? And with a teaching implication, we can say that therefore the teacher should create the opportunity for students to use the ordinary language, or the teacher can use the ordinary language to introduce new but complex topics. Right. So don't confuse yourself with teaching implications and importance. Okay. Teaching implications is looking at the roles that the teacher or the student should play in order to achieve that importance or advantage that we are looking at. Then we came to economies, and we said that the economies are the jargons or the technical terms that are mostly used in economics. And I created an instance that the economies helps us to express or explain concepts in a precise, concise, and consistent manner. One of the disadvantages of the ordinary language is that it has several meanings. It is not uniform, rather, it is dynamic depending on the context, audience, and the purpose of the gathering. However, looking at the economies, it is it has one meaning. Inflation, the meaning of inflation in Ghana, or the meaning of inflation accepted by economists in Ghana, is also accepted by economists in outside or Western or Europe or Asia or whatever country, right? So that's why we are saying that the economies have the same meaning. Okay, and we also say that it also prevents non-economists to understand what we are talking about. So I use the instance of a news bulletin that is just using the economical terms to in their sense of communication. So if someone that does not have in-depth knowledge in economics, the person won't enjoy it. Or imagine that you are expressing or you're explaining a concept to your grandmother or an older person, your mom or your dad, who does not have any formal education in economics, so you're using the jargons. It will become boring and they won't be interested, right? Because they don't understand, right? So these are some of the disadvantages of economies. And with the teaching implication, we said that for as lecturers and as upcoming economics teachers, we should explain what the technical terms means. Okay, so when you are looking at a supply function, that there's a positive side between price and the quantity supplied. You should explain to the students why it is a plus sign and not a minus sign, why it is QD and not Y, why it is QD and not W, why it is QD and not Z. What does QD stands for? What does P stands for? Okay, as soon as we make this clear, explanations, they are going to really understand the concept that we are talking about. Then we came to the mathematical language. And we said that with the mathematical language, it helps us as economists to express our thoughts in a precise and concise way. Okay, so after all the calculations and all of that, we can make recommendations, specific recommendations, right? Yeah. And some disadvantages of the mathematical language is that it's actually add to the abstractness of economics. Whenever you hear someone say that, oh, economics is difficult and it's complex, it's also because of the math in there, right? Yeah. So it's just up to us to make the mathematical language or economics a blessing and not a curse to our students. So this is basically for Unit 5, and we are done with Unit 5. So before we go to the next thing that we will look at, I have a question. All right. So how can you as an economics teacher make economies a blessing but not a curse to your students? Okay, so I'm going to reframe the question again. As an economics teacher, how can you make economies a blessing and not a curse to students? You know, I won't ask you the advantages of using economies or the teaching implication. I won't go that direct and straightforward, right? Because I want you to understand it. So, as an economics teacher, how can you make economies a blessing and not a curse to students? How can you make economies a blessing and not a curse to students? All right, let's hear from you, Abba.
Okay, so as an economic teacher, I can make an economics as the blessing to students. You have to explain some technical terms to students if possible for them to get the understanding very well.
Good point. Yeah. And I'm really, what I said is excellent. That is true. So, one way that we can make economies, and I've explained what economies means. Economies means, wow, that is vast, right? Yes. So, one way that we can make economies a blessing and not a curse to students is to break the technical words down, to break the equations down, to break the methods down so that they can easily understand. Okay, so I've seen Francis' hands. Let's hear from you, Francis.
Okay. I will also reward students when they succeed in using some of these complex jargons in the class. So that is what I will do to make economics a blessing to my students. So by rewarding them when they succeed in using some of the complex jargons. Thank you.
Excellent one there. Yeah. Yeah, so you are going to reward them, which is very, very good. But for me, I always want to probe further. Which rewards are you talking about? Which form of rewards could you inculcate, okay, in order to make them into the subject and see it as a blessing? How one is just something like, yeah. So yes, we have to reward them. And one way before, okay, so we have seen another hand by Samuel. Let's hear from you, Samuel.
Okay, madam. Me too. I will do give a room for learners to practice economies in different contexts, like solving problems, answering of questions, and also interpretation of data and many more, so that they will know more about the economies as well.
That is very, very good. Yes, that's very, very, very good. So providing that practical um, environment and practical scenarios so that they can understand. So I'd like to share this with all of you. For me, I developed interest for economics at senior high because of one lady. I'm sure that she doesn't even know that she impacted so much into my life. I'm sure she doesn't know. So she came to our senior high school, and I think she was doing her service or off campus or something related to that. And the way and manner this lady broke economics down. And back then, yes, I was in SHS3 back then. But yes, I was doing well. But at SHS3, I was like 90+% in economics because of how she broke it down, how she brought real world relevant things in the classroom. I remember when she was talking about the types of demand, um, some complementary goods and all of that. Like she brought relevant things into the classroom. Okay. She brought Milo and chocolate, trying to look at competitive goods, right? That if the price of Milo increases, whilst the price of chocolate hasn't increased, which one are you going to opt for? So like it made it so practical that I didn't need to go and chew and pour anything. And looking at like in complementary goods, talking about car and fuel. You can't drive a car without fuel. You need fuel to drive your car. She brought practical instances, things that we could feel and touch in the classroom. That that sparked my interest for economics because I was like, okay, so even at SHS3, I was getting 90+%. Then I'm really good. So why don't I pursue that in the university? But I'm sure she doesn't even have any idea about how well she impacted into my life. And here I am today also impacting the same thing to you all, right? So we have to be very mindful, okay? We really have to be mindful and we really have to create that opportunity on the platform that our students can be able to understand and assimilate whatever thing that we are teaching them. Good. Okay, so I've seen Samuel's hand.
Okay, madam, please. I have a question, and my question is about the merits of the economic languages, the three. My question is, does it have uh, implication? Their merit, does it have an implication on the economy at large, or the merits are centered to only economists? Thank you.
Okay, so if I understand you. You're asking whether the languages of economics, looking at their merits, does the merit apply to the economy or just economics as a subject? Is that your
Yeah,
question?
yes, please. Is the merit, are they centered to only the economists? Are they those who only benefit from the languages, or the economy at large? That, let's say, a country at large benefit
Okay.
from the languages.
Okay. So I now understand your question.
Okay.
So please let's answer Samuel's question. He's asking, looking at the advantages of the language. Okay, does it only benefit the economist or the economy as a whole? This is a very good question. Does it benefit just us or everyone in the economy? Okay, let's hear from you, Koshre.
Madam, I think it benefits everyone in the economy, in the sense that we have three types of languages that we've discussed this morning. And the first language being the ordinary language, it helps the economists in the country to communicate with the non-economists in the country. And with that, the people that are not in economics clearly understand the things that goes on in the market, in terms of our GPD and all those economic terms. So for the ordinary language provides the platform for the economists to communicate with the people in the economy at large. Now the other languages, I think that one benefits the economics because they do understand it perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Koshre. Let's hear from Ofe.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity, madam. I would like to add something to what Boa Lawrence said with regards to the benefit. I think, in addition to the citizens having the advantage or benefiting from it, the economy as a whole also benefits from these economic languages. Why am I saying so? I'm saying this because when the economists formulate policies, the ordinary language enables them to disseminate or clearly state out what their findings to the population. So if I am an ordinary citizen selling tomato, and I've been able to, an economist has been able to educate me using my language, the ordinary language. Now I understand what I am doing. I will be able to also do it and do it well. And by saying that, every other person who also understands what the economist has been able to interpret to him or her will also do their part well. And by so doing, we'll end up growing the economy. So with this, I think it benefits both the individuals, the population, and the economy as a whole. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ofe. This is a very good submission. Who else? Okay, so before I add my voice to it, I'd like us to look at the three types of the languages in economics. You have the ordinary language of economies and the mathematical language. So just as we have explained with the ordinary language, the main audience is the local people. The main audience is the non-economist. The main focus is people that are not well versed in the subject called economics, or are not well, like they don't really understand this concept, okay? And we use this language for them to understand. So with this particular ordinary language, we are looking out for them. We are looking out for their interest, right? And as soon as we use the economies, we use that to communicate to ourselves okay, in such a way that we can craft the policies that will help the local people. We use the math language also to be able to get a precise and concise way, okay, a precise and concise way of getting solutions or the magnitude and the degree of the relationships that we are looking for. Without the mathematical language, we can never be extra sure. We can never be extra sure that this is how far inflation rates can get to. That inflation rates can get to 20%, 15%. We can never be that sure. Okay. So all of the economies and the mathematical language, though we use it to communicate to ourselves, we do that to get that precise idea, okay, or precise relationship between what we are looking at, and we use the economies to craft that policies so that it can impact or it can have a positive influence on the lives of the local people. Okay, so the main aim, if you really want to be a selfless economist, okay, you should really look out for the local people walking down the street. Okay, you should really look out for having a positive impact or effect into the pockets of the local people. That is the ordinarily that is how we're supposed to be. However, human self-interest and greediness have set in, and the main purpose of studying economics is not what is really happening on the ground now. So, Samuel, before I go into something else, I hope we have answered your question.
Yes, please, madam. I'm okay with everything now. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much too for that question. Yeah, so ordinarily, this is how economics should be. We should be focused on improving the lives of local people, improving the standard of living of people, reducing the cost of living of people, that everyone will feel better and happy. However, is that the issue happening now? That is a conversation for another day. Yeah. So we are done with Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5. That's so interesting. And I want to give Unit 6 out as a presentation that you do next week. So your course rep will help drafting the groups on the page so that you can join. So hold on so that I can share the slide for Unit 6. So I'm just going to talk about it briefly. I'm just going to talk about Unit 6 briefly because that's the same thing you do with the presentation to own. Okay. Yes. So you do the presentation on Unit 6 and what we have done so far so that I can also sit here and enjoy your lecture. Because you guys have been listening to me for the past several weeks. And I also have to listen to what you have for me. Yeah. So I'll talk about Unit 6 briefly. I won't really go into details because you do a presentation on it and you also do a presentation on some other several units that we have done so that it helps us to understand what we have done. And so if I have to come in and re-emphasize some of the things, I do that because I want each one of you to pass well. Okay, not just pass, but pass very well. Okay. Do you have any questions for me before we start with our final unit? Okay. I've seen Lawrence hand. Let's hear from you, Lawrence.
Thank you, madam. When we were discussing mathematical language, there was an example that was given. I I was looking forward for you to explain that, but it seems that didn't happen, and I want to clarify this example for us. He said, for example, suppose the inverse demand function for a good is given by P equals 100 minus 2Q, where P is the price and Q is the quantity demanded. This means that consumers are willing to pay 100 units of money for the first unit of the goods, but their willingness to pay decreased by 2 units for each additional unit of the good. Can you please explain that?
So in the mathematical language, the example in there is basically showing the relationship between price and quantity demanded. And the inverse or the minus sign shows that negative relationship, that as prices increases, the demand reduces. Okay. So the values in there, you know that we have a constant, right? That no matter the changes in price, okay, this is how much people are going to demand. Okay, which is the A, which is the constant. That even if the price, there is no change in price or there's no price at all, people are going to demand this number of goods, right? So that equation in there is just an example to show the relationship between price and demand. But just that for you to understand, clearly understand that, that's why I place some figures in there so that you can properly understand that. So with the P is equal to 100 minus 2Q. Okay, so the 100 here is constant, right? The 100 here is constant, meaning that the consumers are willing to pay 100 units of money for each unit of what good, right? But their willingness to pay decreases by 2 units for each an additional unit of the good, right? So a minus sign shows that there's an inverse relationship which is described using the decreases, right? And the 2, which is the coefficient of the Q, is showing the extent with which demand will decrease per, like, in relation to the price. Okay, so that's why in the slide it is stated that the willingness to pay decreases by 2 units for each additional unit of good. Okay, and the 100 units is a constant that no matter changes in the quantity, this is the price that people are willing or to pay for. Okay, so this is just what it means. P is equal to 100 minus 2Q. The 100 is the constant that no matter the changes in quantity, that is the price. And the minus sign shows the inverse relationship between price and demand. The 2, which is the coefficient of the Q, is showing the degree or the magnitude of the inverse sign or the magnitude of the relationship between the price and quantity demanded. Are you okay now?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Please ask me questions, okay? Please ask me questions. So I hope since you're not asking me questions, if I ask you questions in quiz and exams, you'll be able to answer all my questions since you don't have any question. And mind you, your quiz and your exams, they are just waiting for the time, for the appointed time so that you see it. They're just relaxing and taking a breath, some fresh air, and waiting for the day, for the judgment day. You have seen your hand, Lawrence.
Um, well, from the timetable, I will be having the first quiz somewhere 20 something of this month. And then I would like to ask which or what units are we to read for the first quiz? We've done 5 units now. Are we reading everything, or we have specific units that we are supposed to read for the various quizzes? That is quiz 1 and 2.
Okay, so we will talk about that. We will talk about that after our presentation. Okay. After our presentation, we will solve likely quiz questions. I also give you the areas because I'm not all that wicked. So I'll give you the areas to learn. You don't need to clap for me. I don't need your yeah. So I'll give you the specific areas and the units that you should learn so that at least yeah, I know that most of you are working and also schooling. So it's not like the regular students. And you also have other responsibilities to also take care of. So yeah. We would go through some likely quiz questions, likely examinable questions, and specific units for the quiz and exam. So we will get there after the presentation. Okay, we get there after the presentation.
All right, madam. And then
All right.
with a concern has been raised by some learners pertaining the number of people reading this course. Like on the platform, we have 65 members in the group, but looking at the concern raised, it seems not all the 65 people are reading this course. So I have posted a statement that all people that are not reading the course should exist from the group, and then we'll get to know the exact number of people we are dealing with. And I will get back to you on that. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. I think this is very good because it was heartbreaking, really heartbreaking to um miss for me to miss Sunday, my Sunday church services for you guys and less than half of you on the WhatsApp platform do not join the lecture. It's really heartbreaking. It's really, really, really heartbreaking. Yeah, so just get that so that we can know and it can also help us in the group creating so that we can get those that yeah reading nature of economics and create a group for that early so that they can know themselves and start preparing for their presentations next week. Yeah, so it's a good step for sure. Okay, so I've seen another hand or say.
Oh, okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Please, I want to ask a question. And based on the languages that we have learned this morning, I want to ask if in writing any economics exam, do we have a specific language that we use it to write such economics questions?
Are you please repeat your question again?
Oh, okay. I said my question is, in writing any economic exam based on the languages that we look at this morning, in writing any economics exams, do we have a specific language that we use it to write such questions?
Okay, okay, all right. So, Osei is asking that is asking that if we have like an intermediate exams paper to write, is there any specific language based on what we have learned that we can use to write our exams and all that? I'll say, have I understood your question clearly?
Yes, yes, please.
All right, sure. Okay, so I've seen Samuel's hand. Let's hear from Samuel.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. Please, I would like to help my brother on that. Uh, what I would like to say is that we do not have a specific language that we do right. However, we include or institute all the languages into examination of economics as a subject because all the languages have teaching implications. So far as teaching and learning is concerned, exams too is concerned. So we don't single out a distance, a language to be written on. We combine everything. So I would like to end it by saying we integrate all languages in examination. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Samuel. Who else? 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 Okay. All right, Francis Akwesi Ajimari.
Okay, madam. What I would like to say is that we can use all the languages that we know, but with economics, sometimes we do use the economics terms when we are answering economics question. So you can fish in the economic terms, but aside that, you can use any language at all to answer economic question. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And let's hear from the course rep as well.
Thank you, madam. I think the language that we use is the English language. But if you are writing economics examination, there are certain terms and terminologies that you have to use when writing economics examination. Because if you're talking about price, demand, there are some key terms that you have to use. And those are the terms that I think will be marked. If you use other terms, honestly, it will be marked, but you will not gain the full marks. But so me, I suggest you employ those terms when explaining economic definitions or terms. Thank you.
Thank you very much, course rep. Emmanuel Chere. Am I right with the pronunciation?
Thank you, madam. Please, I would like the course rep to share his contact so that some of us can join the WhatsApp group. We have tried several times to join the group, but no avail. So if you can share the contact so that we can also send our details for him to add us to the group for the nature of economics. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too. As we thought you were answering or providing us suggestion to the question on the floor, but that's fine. All right, so let's hear from Ofe.
Okay. I think with the economic language, the question when you are writing exams, the question actually kind of in a way limits you to the kind of language to use at a particular point in time, because if you are supposed to prepare an economic schedule and a function has been given to you, you definitely use the mathematical language in economics. If you are supposed to provide a definition to a question and um, uh, you are supposed to bring out the key points in the in that definition, so you use the economic language. But when you are writing, let me generalize this, but when you are writing an article to the public, you also know that there is people that use the ordinary language, so you are also encouraged to use the ordinary language to in order to address those people. So sometimes the question itself limits you. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ofe. And I've seen another hand, Solomon. Let's hear from you.
All right, thank you, madam, for the opportunity. I think that all the three languages can be used when writing or answering economic question. But as we all know that every discipline has its terms or terminologies that is being used. So when we use the economic terms or jargons, that really defines who we are as an economist. But I don't think when someone use the ordinary language, the person is wrong or is not supposed to use that language when answering economic question. All are needed. But if we want to express ourselves or make sure other people to know that, or let the lecturer, the examiner to really know that what he or she has taught that we are really learning and want to put it into practice, then we have to use the economic terms to define ourselves as an economist. Thank you.
All right, that's a good one there. George, let's hear from you.
Yes, madam. Good morning to you all once again. Please, I will say using economics language with the ordinary people will not be necessary as such. You use the English language to their understanding. But talking with what economics, it didn't necessary to use the economic languages like, let's say, scarcity, the resources, the opportunity cost, that you are an economist. But in dealing with ordinary people, it's deemed best to use the ordinary language for them to understand what we are saying, as we've learned right now earlier on by using the jargons or the economics language in communicating. Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, George, and thank you very much to each one of you. Okay, so I want to make something clear. When we say ordinary language, it doesn't really mean P, Akan, Eve, Hausa, or any ordinary language. It doesn't literally mean P, Akan, or Hausa, Eve, Fanti. No, it doesn't literally mean that way. Okay. Ordinary language just means that breaking the jargons or the technical terms into smaller or simpler explanations for people to understand. And in as much as or in our quest to bring the technical terms or specialized terms in simpler means and ways for ordinary people to understand, we could use our local languages. However, ordinary language does not mean like local languages. Ordinary language means that we breaking the technical terms or the specialized language down to the level that everyone will understand. Okay, so that does not necessarily mean that Ordinary language is the local language that everyone speaks in our neighborhood know, right? And with the term is economies, not economics. Economies. So we have ordinary language, economies, and mathematical language. Ordinary language, economies, and mathematical language. So in exams, okay, right now that we are all studying nature of economics, and in exams, I've asked you that. Oh, so like define opportunity cost using a real life example. And looking at the marks is like 5 marks. Define opportunity cost using real life examples. First of all, for you to let me understand and have a conviction in my heart that you really learned it, you have to use the technical terms so that I'll be able to understand that yes, this guy knows what he's saying. And after that, I asked another question that using real life example, that is where I need you to create what examples, real life scenarios of which you can create that using an ordinary language, okay, a situation that has occurred, okay, that choosing your an online class over your friend's wedding. Okay, so the value of the next best alternative for gold. So the enjoyment and the satisfaction that you could have received from your friend's wedding is the opportunity cost. That one you have broke it down to the level of everybody to understand. But remember, you are writing it to me. So first of all, you have to use that technical meaning so that you can prove to me that yes, you know what you're talking about. Then you go a step ahead that if all other things being equal, I am not the one marking your scripts at that moment, and any other person takes it, then the person does not have insight in economics. Your example will make the person understand. Okay, you can also use the math language in order to show the value of the opportunity cost, like 20, 50, 30, and all of that, or any number at all. So it is very, very important to use these languages based on the content and the context and the purpose. So with the question that Solomon asked, he said that when you are writing an exams for an economics lecturer who also has an in-depth knowledge in that discipline. But when you mostly use the ordinary language, you use the ordinary language about 90% of it. It's to create that impression like you're just doing a try and error. You don't really know what you are saying, and you understand, right? So in writing exams, it is more applicable to use the economies. But if there is an instance where you have to create examples, real life scenarios, or make some mathematical calculations, then you can use the ordinary language and the mathematical language. Have we answered your question, Solomon?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
If we haven't answered your question, say, Madam, you guys haven't answered my question.
Yes, yes, yes. The question is answered. I'm all.
Great, great. All right. That's good. All right. So, any other question again? Okay. So I'll start with Unit 6, then okay. So with Unit 6, we are looking at economic perspective, way of thinking, and economic systems. Economic perspective, way of thinking, and economic systems. And by the end of this lesson, you should be able to define what an economic perspective is, explain key concepts in the economic way of thinking. You should also define some pitfalls and examine them, and discuss the central economic problems in the traditional and the command, the market, and the mixed economy. And yes, we start with the economic system, economic way of thinking, guidepost to economic way of thinking, which is very important. And we finally end with economic systems. All right. So as soon as we say economic perspective, let's take the word perspective. Perspective is just the idea or the rationale of someone, right? That is perspective. So we add the term economic to perspective, making economic perspective. Okay. So it literally means that you thinking like an economist. Okay. So you looking at the world through the lens of an economist. You having a rationale, a notion like an economist. You examining issues like an economist. Okay, so economic perspective involves analyzing human behavior, the decisions that people take in relation to how they allocate their scarce resources to satisfy their unlimited wants and needs. Okay, so it just means that we are analyzing the decisions that human beings make in relation to allocating the scarce resources to meet their limited wants. That's basically what economic perspective. So you don't have to worry your head too much to chew and pour. You remember or you know the meaning of perspective. Perspective, rationale, notion, idea, perception, right? You add the term economic to the perspective, making economic perspective. So you are thinking like an economist. You are looking at the world, is a way of looking at the world through the lens of an economist. And you don't end there. You know that we are focused or we are targeted at analyzing human behavior and looking at how they allocate their scarce resources to satisfy their unlimited wants and needs, right? Now, we are going to look at some pillars of economic perspective. Scarcity and choice are two fundamental concepts in economics. Trust me, these are like foundations in economics. These are concrete in economics. In fact, these are cement. These are vital nitty-gritties in economics that we can't do about. Scarcity is the limited supply of goods and services relative to the demand they have for them. Meaning that we can't talk about scarcity and remove demand. It is the demand that makes a good scarce. And because goods are scarce or resources are scarce, and in fact, time is also a resource. And time is also very, very, very scarce. That's why you have to use your time very well because you only live once, right? You don't die. Yes, we have several doctrines and Christian or faith that say that yes, if you die, you are reincarnated again and you live again. But what we know, we all haven't died before, so we don't know what's happening there, right? So this is what we have now. We have to make the most out of life, right? Yeah. Then choices are also very important because our wants are what? Unlimited and our resources are scarce. So we have to make a choice to allocate our scarce resource to the most pressing need. So imagine that I have 2 plots of land and I decide to use it for farming, cultivate crops, even with the crops that I've decided that I want to cultivate the crops, I can cultivate several crops. However, I am limited to just 2 plots of land. Okay, so I have to look at which crop can be able to contain that 2 plots of land, because I can't cultivate crops that will take more than 2 plots of land because I just have 2 plots of land, right? And even if I decide to not cultivate crops and build on the land, I can build for rent. I can use it to build a school. I can use it to build a guest house. I can use it to build a hotel. But I can't do all of these on just 2 plots of land because I'm just constrained to just 2 plots of land. Therefore, I have to make a choice on which type of building I'm going to build. Yes, I like to build a school on just that 2 plots of land. I want to build a guest house on that same 2 plots of land. I want to build a factory. I want to build a rooms for rent. I want to build my own personal rooms. I want to have a pool. But the reality on the ground is that I am just constrained with just 2 plots of land. And because of that, I have to make a choice. Okay, because the land is just limited to 2 plots of land. And now we come to economic way of thinking. Economic way of thinking is that set of analytical tools, okay, that we as economists, we use to understand the relationship between economic behaviors or economic phenomena. Okay, that set of analytical tools that we use to understand the happenings in the economic scenarios or circumstances or in an economic situation, right? So this involves making assumptions about human behavior and all of that. And these analytical tools are specialized tools that are constrained to we as what economists. So someone who does not have in-depth knowledge in economics might not know how to run regressions using data, does not know how to state hypothesis, does not know how to test hypothesis, right? So that's why I'm saying that economic way of thinking is that set of analytical tools that economists use to understand economic phenomena, economic happenings in an economy, right? And with that economic way of thinking, we also have key concepts in economic way of thinking. Just as we have some fundamentals in economic perspective, which is scarcity and choice, we also have key concepts in economic way of thinking. Economic rationality. Okay, so you are termed as rational if your enjoyment or benefits that you gain from an action outweighs your cost. That is when we term you as rational. So let's say that you sit down and evaluate before you even decided to buy the forms for this code program. I'm sure you sat down to evaluate some of the benefits, the enjoyment that you get after you have graduated from this program. You sat down to look at the cost that, oh, I'm going to incur a cost of this, I'll pay fees, I'll buy internet bundle, I'll do this, I'll do that. You outweigh the cost and the benefit or the enjoyment that you get after you graduate from the program. You weighed it and you realize that the benefit outweighs the cost. That makes you rational. Okay, so economic rationality is just that about you trying to avoid cost and maximize your benefits as an individual. So that's why as soon as you go to the market, you as a consumer, you negotiate the price because you want to reduce the cost whilst getting more goods at a lower cost. You want to get more goods at a lower cost, whilst the market woman also at the market also want to exercise economic rationality by making sure that she gets profits, okay, and does not run at a loss, right? So we are rational in our own ways. We are rational in our own level. So far as to you, the benefits that you derive from the action outweighs the cost, you are termed as rational. And we look at marginal analysis. Marginal analysis, whenever you hear about marginal refers to additional benefit, additional benefit, or whenever you hear marginal, it means an additional. Okay, so you are also termed as rational if your additional benefit outweighs the additional cost incurred in that activity. So imagine that I've contracted you all to go on a fieldwork research in Kumasi, and I'm going to pay you 300 cedis per day for if you are able to engage in this fieldwork data collection. I'll pay you for a day, and we are working up to 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, I know that, or I get to understand that I've not reached the target that I want to reach, or I estimated to get a total of 20,000 people, okay, that we have contacted within the 10 days. Unfortunately, at the end of the 10 days, I realized that I've just contacted about 15,000 people. Okay, remaining 5,000 people yet to be contacted. Okay, then I say that, okay, class, if you are willing to work with me on extra 5 days, I'll pay you 500 cedis per day instead of the original 300 cedis. Okay, meaning that there's an additional 200 cedis that you are going to get for working for that extra days. And remember that working for that extra days will mean that you're going to incur extra cost, extra transportation from where you are to Kumasi, your extra feeding, your extra accommodation, and all of that. So marginal analysis is just a tool that is used to examine the marginal benefit as against the marginal or additional cost. Okay, so it's just used to examine the additional benefit as against the additional cost. Okay, and if your additional benefit exceeds your additional cost, we term you as rational. Right. Then we have positive and normative reasoning. I know most of you have heard about this in critical thinking. When you say positive statement or positive reasoning, these are statements that are built on fact. They are factual. They are built on fact and can be proved and disproved. However, normative reasoning or normative statements are built on your opinions, perceptions, and cannot be proved or disproved. So, a statement that the inflation rate, the current inflation rate in Ghana is 12%. This statement, you can prove or disprove that yes, the current inflation rate is 12%, which is a positive statement. And a statement that the government of Ghana should inculcate, the government of Ghana should not cancel the free senior high school policy to ensure increased enrollment in senior high school. This one is based on my own opinions and my values and my subjective feelings. Okay, and this one is a normative statement. Okay, so the clear line between a positive reasoning and normative reasoning is that a positive reasoning is a scientific reasoning, okay, which is based on fact. It can be proved and disproved. Whilst the normative reasoning is more or less based on your opinions, your subjective values, or your principles, right? Okay, now let's look at how an economic perspective and an economic way of thinking are similar. We can say that both concepts helps us to analyze human behavior and decision making in terms of how people allocate scarce resources to satisfy their limited needs. Yes, economic perspective uh, delves more into looking at the world through the lens of an economist by looking at how individuals allocate their scarce resources to alternative uses in order to meet their taste and preferences and their needs and their wants, right? Whilst economic way of thinking involves that set of analytical tools that we are able to use to analyze economic phenomena in an economy. So we can use both of them to analyze how individuals behave, the psychology behind individuals' decision making to allocate the scarce resources. Okay. And both concepts are used by economists to understand economic phenomena and build models that helps us to explain how the market works and how individual decisions are. So both of them, both concepts helps us to understand the economy, okay? Understand how to build models to explain the relationships that occur in the market. Okay, and both concepts are also useful for understanding how individuals and society make decisions about how to allocate resources and how these decisions affect the well-being of some other people too as well. Okay, now let's quickly go through the differences between the economic perspective and economic way of thinking. The economic perspective deals with is more broader, like looking at the world through the lens of an economist, like thinking as an economist, trying to look at analyzing human behavior in relation to how they allocate their scarce resources. However, economic way of thinking is that set of analytical tools. If I say analytical tools, it basically means that specialized tools that are particular to us as economists that we use to study the relationships between the economic phenomena. Okay, then fast forward, the economic way of thinking also is used by economists to build models that explain economic phenomena, while economic perspective is used by individuals to analyze the world around them. As simple as that. The economic way of thinking is also more technical, more specialized. So, like running regressions is data, looking at structural equation modeling, fractional logic regressions, and all of these quasi likelihood maximum estimator or quasi maximum likelihood estimator, probate logic, all of these are technical or specialized items. Okay, while the economic perspective is more general and easily accessible. Now, I want us to quickly go through the guidepost to economic way of thinking. As soon as we say guidepost, it's just an English word. You remember that those times that we were young, okay, when you guys are or in athletics, okay, those times that we were young, we were using blocks or concrete blocks. These blocks are that I used to build as guideposts to the way or whether to turn right or left if you are running or you are doing athletics, you are running, right? So you just go straight, you are running on that line, and you get to a point that there is a block there, either on your left or your right. So let's say the block is on your left and it gives you a guide to take your left and not your right. Right. Yeah, so literally guideposts are things that helps us to be on that right path that we are supposed to do. So in that same context, we also have guideposts to economic way of thinking, things that we should watch out for in order to think like economists. Okay, in order to do the right thing as economists. One, we should understand that resources are scarce. So decision makers must make choices. Okay. Resources are scarce. I've spoke about this from the onset of our first unit. Okay. And individuals choose purposefully. Individuals evaluate the alternative critically, compare the benefits and the cost. And if the enjoyment or the benefit outweighs the cost, then they choose the one that yields the highest benefit. So it means that individuals choose purposefully. Okay, so they analyze and critically position themselves very well. And incentives matter. Incentives are very, very crucial. So the if imagine you were a teacher, you say, oh, you have the internal motivation to teach, but they don't pay you at the end of the month, and you are hungry, you don't have food to eat, you can't take care of your family. Are you still going to get that enthusiasm to teach? No. Yes, you have the internal motivation, but you still have to eat. Still have to enjoy life, right? Yes. So incentives matters a lot. And also individuals make decisions at the margin. Okay. Individuals consider the pros and cons. Okay. I- Individuals consider the nitty-gritties before taking an action or taking a decision. Individuals look at the situation as a whole before taking an action. Information is valuable, but acquiring it is costly. So the information about nature of economics, you have to pay for your fees, pass your exams for level 100 before you can get this information on knowledge in nature of economics. So information is very valuable, but acquiring it is very costly. That's why you had to pay your fees and the time you are using it to learn. You had to pass your level 100 courses before having to take this course. Okay. We also have to be aware of secondary effects. Most of the times we are just looking at the primary effect or the immediate effect that we will experience. We are not considering this secondary effect. Okay, the effects that are not just seen on the ordinary surface level. The secondary effects are seen when there's a critical thinking in there. Look at the holistic issue and don't just look at the shallow of the issues. Make in-depth analysis so that I can consider the secondary effects too as well. The value of a good or a service is subjective. The value of a good or a service is subjective. So right now to you, you might feel like, oh, as soon as I drink malt, I am okay. I'm very excited. I'm all over the place. Like it makes my head big. A different person would take that same malt and be like, this one, this one is not anything at all. This one is just low. This one is just average. Like it's not anything. It's not giving any satisfaction. So the value of a good or a service is subjective. And the test of a theory is its ability to predict. One way that we can test a theory, whether it is real, relevant to the lives of the people, is in its ability to still predict the life of the bonding generation of people. It's in its ability to make predictions into the future. And that predictions, if it comes through, then we can say that this theory is still valid. If not, then we can say that it is not valid. There are fallacies in economic reasoning. I know that most of you have heard this in critical thinking. One is the violation of the ceteris paribus principle. It is an error. In fact, it is a total abomination. Okay, it's a total abomination or a total error to ignore the all other things being equal assumption, or to ignore the ceteris paribus assumption or principle. When you are analyzing the effect of one variable on the other, so I stand up and say that as prices increases, demand decreases, and as prices reduces, demand increases. This is wrong because we have instances where the goods are necessity goods that their demand does not change no matter changes in prices. We have goods that, due to the taste and preferences of consumers, no matter how the price is, people will still opt for it. No matter how the price of gold is, people will still buy gold. No matter the increase in price of water, people will still buy water. Okay, so it is an error in economics to ignore the all other things being equal assumption when you are analyzing the effect of one variable on the other. And it is also a fallacy in economic reason to believe that good intentions bring about good outcomes, that always good intentions bring about good outcomes. So you remember the fact that you met a lady and this lady said that, oh, you were a fine guy and have good intentions about you. I have good plans for you. It doesn't mean that always this lady is going to always do things that will make you happy, right? And also the fact that you as a lady, you met a guy and the guy is saying that, oh, I have good intentions for you. I want to buy a car for you. I want to make you happy. I want to do this. I want to do that for you. Doesn't necessarily mean that always this person will make you happy. The fact that a policy, the free senior high school policy, has been painted that, oh, yes, we have to have the free senior high school policy so that a lot of people can get access to school, to senior high school, doesn't necessarily mean that that policy is flawless. Like that policy has no pitfalls, has no weaknesses, has no, like, that policy is 100% perfect. The no fee stress policy, though it has good intentions that, oh, we want to give scholarships to all first year students, it doesn't necessarily mean that that policy is totally or 100% perfect, full of good things without blemish. So it is a fallacy in economic reasoning for us to believe that good intentions always bring about good outcomes. It's also a fallacy in economic reasoning to believe that association is causation. The fact that there's a relationship between one variable and the other does not mean that one variable causes the other thing. Do you understand? So there can be a positive or a negative relationship between two variables, but that does not necessarily provide enough evidence that that one variable can cause a change in the other. So for us to know that, okay, it has an association or causation, there should be further analysis to prove that. And the fallacy of composition. It is also an error in economic reasoning to assume that what is true for the part is true for the whole, and vice versa. So let's say that I come to BS social science, those who are majoring in economics. I ask you, what do you need as students? Say that, oh, we need laptops and textbooks. It doesn't mean that because BS social science students need laptops and textbooks, it doesn't mean that all code students in UCC need laptops and textbooks. Okay, so what is true for a part is not necessarily true for the whole, or what is true for the whole is not necessarily true for the part. Okay, and we also have sunk cost fallacy, which is saying that it is an error in economic reasoning to base your current decision on past cost rather than future benefits and cost. So it is an error in economic reasoning for you to make your decision on something that is gone, on something that is already in the past. You know that we cannot recover anything in the past. We cannot undo anything in the past. We can't go to yesterday and undo the food that you ate yesterday. You can't undo the words that you told your friend. You can't undo the words that you told your mother, your spouse, or anything. So it is an error in economic, likewise in fallacies in economic reasoning. It's also an error in economic reasoning for you to base your current decision on past cost instead of you to look at the future benefits and costs, which are what relevant. Okay, so don't base your current decision on past costs. Rather, base it on the future benefits and costs. Okay. And we have the next one, which is confirmation bias, which is saying that it is an error in economic reasoning to interpret information in a way that confirms your existing beliefs rather than revising them based on the new evidence. So the confirmation bias is of the view that sometimes before we run our regressions, we have our expected beliefs or our expectations that or be a negative relationship between price and demand. But after the empirical result has come out, you realize that no, there is rather a positive relationship between price and demand. Instead of we to, based on the new evidence, we revise it to meet our existing old beliefs, which is an error. We shouldn't do that. We should interpret information based on the new evidence, but not our existing beliefs or opinions that we had initially. Okay. Now we have talked about the fallacies in economic reasoning. Then we come to economic systems. So economic systems, we have the traditional economy, the command, the market, and the mix. The traditional economy is just based on beliefs. I'll just brush through this because we are going to do a presentation on it, so I won't speak much about that. So the traditional economy is based on just customs, beliefs, and traditions, and the command economy is based on the fact that the government owns all the resources, and the decisions regarding what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce are in the hands of the government, right? And the market economy is of the view that individuals and businesses make decisions on what to produce, how to produce, what to produce, for whom to produce, and all of that. And the mixed economy is a combination of the market economy or the capitalist economy and the command economy or the socialist economy, where the government and individuals have a role to play in the economy. Okay, so today with we started with economic perspective and an economic way of thinking. And I said that don't worry yourself too much into it. The word says perspective. Perspective means your rationale, your opinion, your like how you think, your perception, right? Yes. So as soon as you add economic to the perspective, it just means that you thinking like an economist, you looking at the world through the lens of an economist, as you are analyzing how individuals allocate their scarce resources to meet their alternative needs and wants. While an economic way of thinking involves a set of analytical tools which are used to analyze economic phenomena or economic behavior. Before we came to the economic way of thinking, we said that scarcity and choice are the foundations or fundamentals in economic perspective, whereby it says scarcity is the limited supply of goods and services relative to the demand they have for them. I said that time is also a resource and time is also scarce. I use that example that we only live once, so we should make good use of our time on earth. And I use the instance of you just being constrained with just 2 plots of land. Because you have just 2 plots of land, you cannot build a hotel on that same 2 plots of land, or build guest house, build school, build house for rent, cultivate crops like yam, tomato, fresh pepper, like everything. Create a pool, create an airport on that 2 plots of land, create a railway on that 2 plots of land. No, like you are constrained within that 2 plots of land. So therefore, you have to make a choice. Right. Then we came to economic way of thinking, and we said that these are sets of analytical tools that economists use to analyze economic phenomena. Right. And we said that with this one, there are certain things that we do. We take into consideration what economic rationality, whereby you are rational as an individual, where your benefits exceeds your cost, right? So your enjoyment exceeds your cost. So before you decided to take up this program, you looked at the benefits or the enjoyment that you get, then you weighed it against the cost, and you realize that the enjoyment in the future will be more than the cost you pay. That resulted you in making this decision. Then the marginal analysis looks at the additions, okay, the additional benefits and additional cost. Okay, then we came to the guidepost to economic way of thinking, and we said that individuals have to think at the margin. We also said that individuals have to be open and look at the secondary effects before taking a decision. We came to fallacies in economic reasoning. And we said that it is a fallacy or it's an error in economic reasoning to avoid a ceteris paribus principle or not stating that all other things being equal assumption. Okay. Then we said that good intentions does not necessarily bring about good outcomes. So the fact that you met a friend and a friend says that I have good intentions for you does not necessarily imply that the person is always going to implement that good intention. The fact that there's a good policy in government does not necessarily mean that that policy is 100% perfect, without fault, without blemish, without any weakness. We also said that it is a fallacy in economic reasoning to assume that what is true for the part is true for the whole. So the fact that being social science students offering nature of economics are saying that they need laptops and textbooks does not necessarily mean that all distance students in UCC also need laptop and textbooks. Okay. And we also said that it is a fallacy in the economic reasoning to assume that as association is causation. The fact that a variable has a relationship, whether a positive or negative relationship, does not necessarily provide enough evidence for us to state that one variable can cause a change in the other. So for us to make that analysis, there should be further for us to make that conclusion, there should be further analysis before we talk about that. Then we finally went to economic systems. We have traditional um, systems, we have the market system, we have the command system, we have the mesh system. And the traditional system is just basically based on agriculture. They don't engage in export or import or anything. And with a command system or the socialist market economy, um, what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, all these decisions are made by the government. And then with the market economy, or the private economy, we are looking at individuals have the responsibility to take the decision on their own, while the mixed economy is a combination of the government and individuals in the economy. So this is Unit 4. And do you have any questions? Any questions? Anything you want to add up? Any questions you want to ask? Because I want us to close a bit early so that you can start working on your groups. Use the space of time to work on your groups, form your groups, and start working on your presentations next week. Because trust me, I won't encourage any excuses or whatsoever. Okay. And if you don't present next week, it means that 20 bucks, I've lost 20 bucks out of 40 bucks already. All right, so I've seen us Osei's hand. Let's listen to him.
Okay, please. I want to ask a question, simple one.
Osei, please speak a bit louder.
Oh, okay. I think you can hear me, please.
Yeah, loud and clear.
In your presentation, you made mention of, or you stated something. You said time is also a resource. How is time a resource? How? I want to know how.
Okay, so Osei is asking, how is time a resource? How is time a resource? How is time a resource? This one is very easy. How is time a resource? Okay. So I can just answer this question with just one statement, which says that time wasted can never be recovered. Okay. Time wasted can never be recovered. So within the space of 2025, or we started a class on 7th November, which is today, at 7 a.m. There's no way that we'll go back to 7 November 2025, 7 a.m. again. It has passed and it will never come back again. Okay, so meaning that we have to make good or productive use of our time, because the time that we have right now on earth is actually constrained to a particular years. Or say you don't know the total number of years that God has given you to live that purpose with which He created you. I also don't know the time that God has given me to live on earth. We all don't know, right? And between the space of what happened yesterday, even what happened right now, just some few seconds ago, that he just asked this question, we can't recover that time again, ever again. We keep on moving forward. So 2nd November or 1st November 2025, 6 a.m. will never come back again to our lives. So if we have that, or if we are conscious about it in our head, then we will make sure that we make the most out of life. We will enjoy the moment that life brings us. We will be happy and not allow the problems of life take away the joy of life, because we just have our youth. We are worried and disturbed about what will happen in the future and all of that. But you can't control what happens in the future. I just don't want to I don't want to deviate from, I'm trying my very best not to deviate from the question, but all that I'm trying to say is that we can't regain the time that we have lost. With it, using the example of our class starting at 7 a.m. 2nd November 2025, there's no way that a year will come, which is 2nd November 2025 at 7 a.m. again. We keep on moving forward. So that time that we have is a resource that we have to make the most out of it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, well understood. All right. Okay, so I've seen Yamanto's hand. Let's hear from you.
Thank you. Madam, thank you for giving me time to speak. Please, this assumption, all other things being equal, please, what really does it mean? I'm done.
Please speak a bit louder.
I said this assumption that
All this assumption that all other things being equal, please, what really does it mean? Hello.
Yeah, I'm here. All right, so he's asking, what does the assumption or other things being equal? What does it mean? We have always been disturbing his yes with all other things being equal. Ceteris paribus. What does it mean? It is to the entire class. What does it mean that economists have always been making noise? All other things being equal. Ceteris paribus. What does it mean? Yes, I've seen George's hand.
Yes, madam, I'm online. please, for the simple terms that I understand is that if nothing has changed, that is what I understand it simply. Thank you very much.
All right, that's a good try. Let's hear from Samuel too as well.
Okay, madam, it's also about if nothing unexpected has happened to affect the normal situation, that is the all other things being equal. If nothing unexpected has affect the normal situation or routine. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. That's a good try. And I've seen Prince Achampol's hand too as well.
Yeah, madam. If we say all other things being equal, to my understanding, it means putting all things in place. Putting all things in place means all other things being equal.
Okay. Thank you very much for your contributions and all that. But all that you are saying is not out of context. If we say all other things being equal, ceteris paribus, it means that holding other factors constant. Okay, holding other factors constant. Like we are trying to control for other likely we are trying to control for other likely factors that could influence a relationship between two variables. So let's say we are looking at price and demand, and we say that all other things being equal, or ceteris paribus, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded, and the lower the price, quantity demanded. Yeah. So we are holding other factors constant, like the taste and preference, the price of other related goods, the consumers the weather condition, and all of that. We are assuming that all these things are on hold. Okay, we are assuming that all these things, if all these things are on hold, then there will be an inverse relationship between price and demand. Okay, so all other things being equal is that we are putting on hold all other factors, all other shocks, all other uncertainties, all other possibilities that could affect that relationship between price and demand on hold. This is what all other things being equal or ceteris paribus means. Have we answered your question?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much too for the question. Any more questions? Please ask questions. Ask questions. Any more questions? Any more questions? Any more questions? Any more questions? All right. Since there's no questions, then I believe we have learned a lot today. And we started with Unit 5, looking at the language of economics. We came to Unit 6, economic way of thinking, economic perspective, and economic systems. I don't have any questions for both units. That's good. That's good. That's good. So I have a question. If you don't have a question, I have a question. Okay. So we talked about the economic systems. I briefly described their main features and all of that. Among these types, these economic systems, which one are you going to label Ghana under, and why will you do that? Among all the types of economic systems that we have outlined, which one are you going to classify Ghana under, and why are you going to opt for that economic system? You didn't ask questions, so I've asked a question. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I've seen Lawrence hand. Let's hear from you, Lawrence.
Madam, thank you for the opportunity. I
Are you still on the line, Lawrence? Hello?
like you said,
Mm-hmm.
we did not talk aspects of economics that we are talking about currently. Hello.
Yeah, Lawrence, I think it's quite better now, but initially we weren't hearing you. But I think it's quite better now if we can talk.
Yes, like I said, we did not thoroughly discuss the types of economics, the economic system, and their features, since we are going to present on that. And then some of us, we don't have the slides to Unit 6. So it will be a little
So
bit difficult to
it
right
won't be
now.
difficult. It won't be difficult, Mr. Kosher. Mr.
Okay,
Kosher, it's
okay,
not
let me let me
difficult
let me
because
let me let me say my own. Okay, I was speaking for the general class, but since it won't be difficult, let me say my own. We have the traditional system, we have the market system, the command system, and then the mixed system. I think Ghana will be placed, or Ghana is placed under the mixed system, since the mixed system combines all features of the other economic system. Why? Why? Because sometimes the policies of the government determines the demand and supply of certain goods in the country. Two, now sometimes when, especially with the traditional market, the features of the traditional market or the economic system, now the people or the demand and then the supply and the pricing of the goods determines what to produce. Especially, I think Ghana is placed under the mixed economic system. Thank you.
okay, so thank you very much, Lawrence. Oh, I saw another hand. Yeah, comfort. Let's hear from you. Mm.
Okay, thank you for the platform. So, as my learned colleague stated, I think Ghana can be placed under the mixed economy because it has some private or capitalist industries, and it also has some industry that is being managed by the government. So both the capitalists and the socialists have been mixed. So we have private industries and we have government owned industries too. That is all. Okay.
Oh, this is a very good submission. You guys have done so well. Even though I didn't explain into details, but at least you have the idea of the concept, and all that you are saying is true and it is correct. Okay. Yeah, so we can classify our country under the mixed economy because it has the involvement of both the government and private individuals. So what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, how much to produce are all decided both by the government and private individuals. Yeah, so you have all done so well. Congratulations to all of you. Any questions? If you don't ask question, I'll ask a question again. So you guys should ask questions. Okay, let's hear from you, Mr. Kosher.
Thank you, madam. Please, how many units are we treating for this course?
Please repeat your question again.
I want to know the number of units that we are to discuss. We are to discuss for this course.
Okay, yeah. So we are to discuss 6 units, and we are done with all of them. Yeah.
So does that mean that we have or will have the opportunity to recap on some of the units?
Now, I actually didn't get that clearly. I think your network was
I
breaking.
I said if we
Mhm.
are done with all the units, I think we will have the opportunity to recap on some of the units, especially unit
Exactly.
4. Yes.
Exactly. So that's why I want us to do the group presentations. That will cover all the units so that each group will have the opportunity to come and speak about it, answer questions. Then I'll add my voice. You ask them questions too as well. Then I'll add my voice to re-echo, emphasize some of the things, clear misunderstandings, and all of that before we finally write our quiz and our exams. Okay, is that okay, Lawrence?
Yes, madam. Is
All
okay.
right, all right, all right, thank you, Lawrence. Okay, let's hear from someone.
Okay, thank you, madam, for the opportunity. Please, my question is about which of the economic system is best implemented in a developing country like Ghana? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Like, in fact, I really like most of your questions. They are more of critical thinking, and yeah, that's good. So, someone is asking us which of these types of economic systems are good for developing countries like Ghana. Mm-hmm. Which of these types are good for developing countries like Ghana? Okay, let's hear from you, Lawrence.
Thank you. Madam, with this question, it would have been a little bit difficult if he has just said that developing country. But since he specified, we use Ghana to be example, and we've already said that Ghana is classified or could be classified under the mixed economic system. I think the mixed economic system is the best developing country like Ghana.
Yes, yes, yes.
Why?
Who is asking why?
I'm just trying to give some
Yeah, 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 sure,
examples.
sure. Please continue. Please continue.
Why do I say that? Now, one, economics, as we say, we study human behavior, and then human behavior, as we have all said, that it is unpredictable. Now, with a mixed economy, now some parts will be given to the firm, the individuals to make their decision on what to produce, how to produce, whom to distribute to. And then the other part will be given to the government to also formulate policies and implement those policies on what to produce, where, how to produce, and then whom to produce. If we should adapt one economic system, now it is not going to balance the economy. We know people. We sell, we want to get profit. People are greedy. If you leave that to the firms, they will price the goods very high. If you leave that to government, it will also cause monopoly in the system. So I think the best economic system to be implemented in a developing country like Ghana is a mixed economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. It feels like from the onset of our lecture, he has been talking every day. Where are the other people? Are you guys ghosts or visiting scholars? Yes, Samuel.
Okay, madam, please, thank you. And I'm so much grateful for my course rep for helping me on that. And I have
So I
some.
wanted you to hold on. I want you to hold on with your because I want to get some feedback from those who haven't been talking ever since we started our class. I don't know whether these people are ghosts or they are visiting scholars, or I don't know who they are. George has been talking. Yes, I've been hearing from Samuel today. How about Dixon? She hasn't spoke today. Where is she?
I'm here.
Okay.
Hey, sweetheart. You haven't said anything today, Abba. Why?
I'm listening.
Please don't listen. We also want to hear your voice, okay?
Okay.
So please, I want you to say something about his question.
Can you please repeat the question?
No one will repeat any question.
Please,
No one will repeat any question for you.
please.
Samuel, please repeat your question. Please repeat your questions, Samuel. Okay, so I think I don't know what's wrong with his network, but he asked that among the types of economic systems, which one are you going to recommend for developing countries like Ghana? To answer the questions, someone please mute yourself.
Okay. As my learned colleague said, Laurie said, the course rep said, looking at the economic system, we have the traditional, the mixed, the socialist, or the command, where with the socialist, let me say, the opportunity is given to the government to make policies and then make a decision on what to produce and how to distribute it. And with the traditional, it is it gives the opportunity to the individual. So I think we can classify the Ghana under the mix because it combines both the traditional and then the socialist, where individuals are given the opportunity to produce. Then after production, the government comes in on the on how to distribute and then make policies for the distribution. I think that's what I can say about it.
All right, so thank you very much, Abad. That's a very good contribution. Okay, so let's listen of
Madam, mine is also a question, so I think it will be better if.
so hold on with your question. Then I want to hear some voice. Okay, so there are some people that these people haven't spoke since we started this lecture. Kachampom Prince,
Yes, madam.
you haven't said anything today.
Yeah, I've spoken, but I think you have
You spoke
forgotten me.
today.
So, yeah,
Oh,
let me share my idea on this question too.
share.
Okay. For this one, I will recommend the main system of economy because in Ghana, as we've been described as what a country under developing, the government may not have the strength for the production of goods and services across the nation. So, and some individual firms likewise have the strength to support the government. So, all that we need to do is to include the individual firms in combination with the government so that they can produce the goods and services to the satisfaction of all the citizens. But on this one, there should be rules and regulations, and it will also create competition in the economy system than to engage ourselves in either the traditional or the other system of economy. Thank you, madam.
All right. Thank you very much, Acham. All right. Let's hear from Comfort. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, madam. So, madam, I also think the mixed economy is appropriate for Ghana or any other developing country. Since it is a developing country, it means that it is not well developed in terms of economy and other finances or in other factors of production. So it will not be capable of solely producing all the things the citizens may need. So if other private individuals are capable of producing such goods, why not the government allow them to produce to support or to reduce the burden of the government only producing for all the country? So I think mixed economy is good for Ghana and any other developing country. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Comfort. I haven't heard the voice of Anita. Anita, yeah. I don't know whether I've gotten the pronunciation right. Anita, are you here? Ever since we started this course, I haven't heard her voice. I've heard from Lawrence, I've heard from Comfort, Emmanuel too has
Yes,
spoken.
please, I'm around.
Hey, Anita, where
I'm
were
being
you?
disturbed with my kid, so I sometimes get off.
Okay, it's fine, it's fine. All right, so we would like to hear your voice about what you are discussing now.
Okay, so I'll go for the mixed economy, the mixed system,
Why are you going for mixed economy? Are you going because everyone is saying that they are going for mixed economy? Why?
because in the developing countries, you need the the support of the government and the support of the individual for the economy to develop. Since we have not developed well, the government alone cannot cater for the country. So the individual firm can also produce to support the citizen. So that's my take.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank
You
you.
have a very nice voice, and you have not been talking. Anita,
Because of my kid,
we beg from
especially
here.
especially with my little boy.
Oh,
Adam.
it's well, it's
Okay.
well. But please, we want to be hearing your voice, okay? So thank you very much, Anita. Uh, Emmanuel Chre. I think I heard from him. I heard his voice. Um, I haven't heard from Francis. Oh, hey, Francis Akwesiajiman. I think I heard his voice today. Yeah, he spoke. George has always been talking. Henry, is Henry in class? Henry, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey, where did you go?
Oh, I'm here. I didn't go to anywhere.
Oh, okay. So we would like to know your take on what we are discussing.
I'll go for mixed economy
Why?
because it combine both private sector and government sector together, and the government sector regulates certain sectors like the energy and telecommunications, and which and also the private sectors help in agriculture and manufacturing for a developing country like Ghana.
Henry, we are struggling to hear you. Your voice is
What I'm
really.
saying is that, what I'm trying to say is that I'll go for mixed economy because it combines element of private sector and government interventions. The government regulates certain sectors, while the private also regulate some sectors. So that is why I'll go for mixed economy.
All right. Thank you very much, Henry. So I've also heard from Ofe. I've not heard from Sapon. Nana Sapon, is he here? Nana Sapon. Nana Sapon. Okay. Yes, I've heard from Osei. Um, I Solomon. Solomon. Is he here?
Yes, please.
Solomon. Hey, you haven't said anything, Solo.
I spoke.
Oh, okay. And I still
Yes.
want you to speak now. I want you to say something concerning what you are discussing.
Okay. I think that um, mixed economy will be the appropriate economic system for a developing country like Ghana, since the mixed economy combines elements of both command and then the market economies. And in this system, I think the government regulates certain industries while allowing others to operate freely. And as a developing country, when um, when the system is being given to only the capitalists, I think their strength cannot operate to, grow the economy of the country. So they have to work in hand with the socialists so that they both can grow the economy of the country. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Solomon. I haven't heard from Williams. We will see.
Okay, madam, I'm here.
Please say something, okay?
Okay. I also go for the mixed economy, and my solution is so simple. Why mixed? Well, mixed because if we allow only, for example, maybe the private sector alone to be to take, charge in terms of production of goods and services, it means that they are going to take a total control of items that people need to satisfy their wants and their needs, of which not everybody will be able to at least acquire those items. So in that case, government has to come in. So whilst government is playing his part, the private sector will also be playing his part. And when this thing happens, then it means there's going to be competition. And wherever there's competition, price of goods and services always, comes down for everybody to just be able to at least buy one or two to satisfy his or her wants. So based on this, I always go in for the mixed economy. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
All right. That's a very good submission. And yeah, Manso. I think his hand is already up. William, please mute yourself, okay? If
Okay.
you are done to. Yeah, Manso. Okay. Hold on, I'll come back to you. Yeah, Manso. Please, are you talking? If you are not talking, please mute yourself.
Hello, madam, do you hear me?
Yes.
Hello.
We can now hear you loud
Okay.
and clear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. Yes, I'll go for the mixed economy because I've observed this that anytime any party comes to power, they encourage the people to establish businesses in order to help them in employing the population, those who are ready to work, in order to reduce unemployment rate in the country. So they are always encouraging them and even motivating them and giving them incentive to establish businesses, to employ the people of this country, and also produce goods and services which sometimes are exported for the country to get income to develop itself. So Ghana is good for the mixed economy as the government is doing its part by maybe extracting our mineral resources and exporting them for income. You're also encouraging the citizen to also establish businesses and employ themselves and also pay those who work for them to produce goods and services for export and also for internal use. So I believe mixed economy is good for this country. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Yaldan. So, Manso, sorry. Um, and Yvonne is Yvonne here? So I've seen a couple of hands. I know you want to ask your questions. I've seen of first hands. I've seen Emmanuel Tree, Anderson, Yaman. So please hold on, hang in there for me. Yvonne, is she here?
Yes, madam, I'm here.
Hey, I've never heard your voice. Oh.
For today.
Hey, please say something. Please say something before you die, okay?
They have said all, and then mine will be a repetition of what they have said.
Mm-hmm.
So I should still repeat it.
Don't repeat the exact thing, but an idea. You still have to say something.
Okay. I'll also go for the mixed economy. Once we are developing, or like Ghana, we are developing, and mixed economy will help because if everything is left in the hands of the private sector, things, let's say things will be out of control. But once they are mixed, the government will be controlling certain areas that will help the citizens and that of the economy to develop.
Okay. All right, Yvonne. Thank you very much. So I've seen a couple of hands. Let's go to a fair. Let's hear from him.
Okay, thank you, madam. Mine is a follow-up question on this particular question, and the question is, when does an economy changes from one economic practice to another, that is from a traditional to a command, or from a command to a market economy? When does that happen, and when can we have a classical example of when or a country that switched or is currently even practicing any other type of economy apart from the traditional economic system? Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much. So exactly, when does an economy transcend or transition from a traditional economy to the command, to the mixed, or to the market economy? When does that happen? Emmanuel Otre, have you raised your hand?
Yes, madam.
Yes,
Mine is a
please.
question, if I'm
So
permitted to.
please hold on with the question and let's answer his question. Then we'll come to it. So you can just say your thoughts or your view about this question.
Okay. For a country to switch the economic systems, uh, I don't think it is possible for now because a country has to choose one. Either it should be capitalist or socialist or combined. That's the mixed economy. So for one to switch to another and continue switching, I don't think it will be possible. That's my opinion.
Okay. All right. Who else? George, do you want to say something?
Yes, please, madam.
Okay.
Yeah, please, about the question about whether a country can shift from a particular economy to another, I may say yes, in the sense that, let's say, if a country is highly practicing a traditional economy, like the farmers determine the prices of their goods and services, and later the country has developed, and now the government has taken state farms and the government is controlling every farms and industries. Therefore, the government will decide the prices of the goods and services in the country. So in that case, that means it has been shifted from the traditional way to the socialist way. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much to George. And who else? Let's hear from this guy. Oh, where is Amos? I think I haven't heard from him the whole of today. Amos, he's not here. Okay, so let's hear from Anderson Cheneboa. Anderson, are you here?
Yes, please.
All right, so please let's hear from you.
Madam, please, about the question and the person,
Hey, Anderson, were you paying attention at all?
yes, madam, please, I was.
Hey, so he's asking whether a country can transition from the traditional economy to the command economy to the market economy to the mixed economy, and whether in history there's any economy that is practicing any of the systems apart from the traditional economy now.
Um, okay. What I would say is that a country may change its economic system when the
Hey,
exist.
please, and understand your voice is really low. We are struggling to hear you loud and clear. So
Okay.
please speak a bit louder.
All right. Is it okay now, please?
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying that a country may change its economic system when the existing one is no longer meeting the needs or its goals. And this usually happens through reforms and maybe policy changes.
Mm-hmm. Is that all?
Um,
Okay. All right. So yeah, what you're saying is true. It's true. But before I say what I wrap up with the answer, let's listen to Lawrence.
Thank you, madam. See, the question comes, oh, yes, it comes in twofold. When a country decides to practice or implement a system of economics, and then the country that is practicing a type of economics right now. Now, I will restrict my explanation to Ghana. Now, in the year 1978, no, let me say in the year 1979, when the government was overthrown through coup d'etat, and then the leading personnel was the late President Jerry John Lawrence. Now, when he came to power, the government or the economy at that time was being controlled by the individual firms, and pricing of goods and services were being controlled by the individual firms. Now, the change of government made the government at that time, which was Jerry John Lawrence, stepped out and then formulated policies to discredit all the monopolies that have been formed as a result of individual controlling the prices in the country. So he said no, the goods and services will be sold at this price. So if you take a bag of maize, he ties the bag of maize that if anyone dared to change that price of the bag of maize, then that person will be held responsible for that. So at that moment, the markets or the economic system was changed from the market system to the capital system. Now, after his regime, and then in the year 1992, when he was voted by the public to become the president of the Fourth Republic. Now he changed the economic system from the capital or the command into the mixed economic system. And that is what we are practicing currently as a country. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much for that submission. It was history, the rich history in there for all of us. Okay, so all that I wanted to say, I think he has summarized it for me. So have we answered your question, okay?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, okay. So at Champon, please hold on. Solomon, hold on. Let's go to Emmanuel Chair because he raised his hand some couple of minutes ago.
Thank you, madam. Please, I want to ask, for a free market economy, is there any government intervention at all? Or it is only the private individuals that control the whole state institutions and policies formulation? Thank you.
So you're saying that in a free market, is it that the government has a control or there's no control by the government? Is that your question?
Chris, my question is, for a free market economy, the free market economy, is there any little intervention of the government, or there is
Okay.
none?
Okay. All right. All right. Thank you very much for your question. So Emmanuel is asking us that in a free market economy, is it that is there a little interference by the government or there is no involvement of the government in the economy at all? Mm-hmm. Lawrence again. Mm. Let's hear from you, Lawrence.
Madam, there is a government intervention, but it is not as much as compared to the command economic system. Now let's come down to our locality. In our local communities, I can have the resources, or let me say the money to establish a company, and that I will employ the people in the locality. Now, I cannot just get up, go get a land and start building the company or the industry. Now, there is a ruler of the land or of the community. So definitely I will go to the ruler and he will lay down the terms and conditions for operating in that community. And by that, there has been an intervention. Now, this restricts the various individual firms to act according to the laid down rules and regulation of that state or the community they found themselves. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Lawrence. Thank you very much, Lawrence. So I want to hear a lady's. Okay, so Achampo has raised his hand. Hey, Anita. Right now, I wanted to call Anita. She has left the meeting. Hey, Anita, she'll come and meet me. Let's hear from you, Achampo.
Yeah, madam, I wanted to share my idea on the question on if a country can change its economic system. And I will say yes. And my assumption is in line with the board's own. It depends on the system of government that a country uses. Because if we take Ghana, for instance, when Rawlings overthrown the democratic government, he monopolized the system, which changed the Ghanaian economy to a different form. But when a democratic government takes over, it also changes what the economic system from which Rawlings would turn it into and bring it back as it was. So, depending on the system of government that a country practices, the system of economy can be changed or what turn to the other one. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Machampomba. I think your answer is related to the initial question asked by Ofe. Yeah, I've seen Ofe hand. Hey, why my ladies? You guys shouldn't disgrace me, oh. Let's hear from you, Ofe.
Okay, madam. This question arose as a result of the answer Boa gave, that with a traditional economic system, there is still government operation within. So I wanted to know if a mixed economy has an element of government operation in it, and then a private individuals also operating in the same system, makes it a mixed economy. Then the definition for a traditional economy also becomes a mixed economy if by what they are saying is anything to go by. I wanted to know, and if the economy is described based on a proportion of government how do I put it, intervention. Maybe there is a proportion, say 50-50 or 40-60, or if anything like that exists or anything like that should happen before an economy can be described as either a traditional or a mixed economy or any type of economy. That's something that I want to know.
Okay, it is getting very interesting, and this is what I seek to achieve. Yeah. So, before you come to your question of fame, I want us to address the question by Emmanuel Che, that he's asking that with the market economy, do we have little government involvement or there is none? So there is little government involvement. Okay, doesn't entirely mean that there is not at all or no single or no iota of government interventions in there. Okay, so please, Audrey, have we answered your question before we come to our first question?
Yes, madam. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Audrey. So, of is asking that if we're saying that with a mixed economy, there's government interference and individual interference too as well. And with the market economy, that we are saying that it's a market economy purely for individuals, there is also a little bit or a minute of government interferences. Then that system is also a mixed economy system. If not, why? Is there a clear distinction? Is there a quota that there should be 50-50 or 60-40 or 30-70? What is it? Do we all understand this question? Do we all understand this question?
Yes, madam, we do. We are coming. We will answer him.
All right. So before you guys prepare and come, I've not been hearing my ladies talk. Okay, Ima, please let's hear from you.
Thank you, madam. I think that for an economy to be described, either traditional capitalist or socialist economy, the major decisions of the state, the person or either the government or the private individuals who normally uh, formulate the major decisions or policies of the state will depend. And that will also let us know that this economy is either the capitalist or the socialist. For instance, uh, let's say we have 100% activities to perform in an economy. If a private individual perform more than 50%, let's say they perform 60, and the government perform the 40, that economy will be described as capitalist economy. And the other side is where the government also performs the greater activities or policies more than the private individual. That economy will also be described as a socialist economy. So I think that it depends on the proportion of the interventions and the policies that are formulated in the economy. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, Ima. Let's hear from Boa.
Madam. Hello.
Can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Now, on the question on what describe an economy being traditional or command or something. So he based on traditional economy, stating that if there is a government intervention in the traditional economy, then that could also be described as a mixed economy. Now, I would say no, a traditional economic system cannot be described as a mixed economy. The reason is, now when we talk of an economic system, or what makes an economic system, is the decision on what to produce, how to produce, how to distribute, and then the consumers to reach out to or to satisfy them with your goods and services. Now, these decisions determines the economic system. So if these decisions are taken by the individuals, or the major decisions are taken by the individuals, now that type of economy could be termed as the market system. Now, with the traditional economy, they say that it is based on beliefs and customs, and then most are the rural areas. So, if you go to a fishing rural area or a farming rural area, now what they do, what they produce, are based on their beliefs and customs. So, if I find myself in this town, Akomadai, now Akomadai is not that a rural area, but they produce tomatoes. Now, the people of Akumadan sat down and then realized that our people, this land is good for the cultivation of tomatoes. And if we do that, we could employ people, we could reach out to customers, or we could serve our people with this kind of product. So they sat down and made the decision how to produce it, what to produce, and then how to distribute. Now, this decision was not done by the government. But in a mixed economy, now that decision becomes 50-50. That is the proportion 50-50. The government will decide, the individual firm will decide, and then they will come together to form a balance in the economy. Now, on the traditional system again, now, no matter the economic system that a country is practicing, there is an intervention of a government. Now, let's take Ghana for example. Whatever goods that will be produced, you will see that they will make an advert and say it is whether verified or something by Food and Drug Boards. Now, the government intervened just to ensure the quality of the goods that is being produced. That's all. Now, the government does not price the goods. The government does not tell you how to produce it. The government does not tell you how to distribute it. And that becomes either a market system or the traditional system. So, traditional system of economy cannot be termed as a mixed economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lawrence. In fact, This is more of a presentation and a lecture to all of us, and you have done so justice to it. I thought he made reference to the market and the command economy, but not knowing he made reference to the traditional economy. So, Faye, has he answered your question?
Madam, yes. I
Be
choose,
honest. Be honest. Has
madam.
he answered your question?
Madam, with every answer comes a follow-up question also. Madam, let me rest here. Let me just keep it here.
No. You shouldn't keep it to yourself, okay? You shouldn't keep it to yourself. We are here to clear all doubts and misunderstandings. And I want all of you to have some fair and understanding of it, even before you get the slides. So that's why we are doing this. So
Okay.
the comparison that you made was the traditional economy, which is basically based, or which is basically on farming, subsistence farming to eat. There was a barter trade system and that era that they just consume to feed their families. There is nothing like export or government bringing regulations to protect the local industries to produce as against the foreign industries or anything. There was nothing like that. From hand to mouth, yeah. So that was how barter trade. There was no money, so you want something and I have what you want. We just exchange, and that was all. So there was no technological, no innovation, no creativity, nothing. Likewise, the mix system where all of them are coming together, putting ideas together, and make sure that the firms do not exploit the local people, and the government also engage in social um, activities that improve the welfare of the people, like health, education, and all of these things to ensure that the local people, the standard of living of the local people are also maximized, whilst the individual firms and industries also work towards profit maximization. Yeah, so this is just basically it. So ask your question. If you are not convinced, let's clear it, okay? Don't put it inside. If you are okay, it will just let us know so that you can move on.
Okay, madam. So my question all arises from the
Mhm,
example Boa gave, that what to produce, when to produce, how to produce is mostly
mhm,
determined by the private individual. That is, if it's a traditional market, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
if it's a mixed market, it's from both ends, right?
mhm,
Okay. So now he cited an example with a drug. That's there is an authority that makes sure that the drug is safe. By saying so, technically, he means the authority now determines that no, this particular element, when added to the drug, makes it unsafe, right? Meaning, indirectly, the government is trying to skew you to produce using a particular set of elements or a particular way of production, right? Madam, I don't know if you get my question, where I'm coming from. So indirectly, even if it's a traditional market and the government indirectly skews you to produce your medicine in a certain way by adding certain chemicals or removing certain chemicals from the market, he's still controlling how you produce. So this also brings that assumption that I have, that even if it's a traditional market and the government is kind of directing us to producing certain commodities a certain way, then it's technically a mixed economy. Thank you.
Okay, so all right, thank you very much, Ofe. So before we continue, This one is an educational discussion, not a personal attack. Okay. So it should be more of we getting insight and clearer insight into the things we are discussing, but not of a personal attack. Um, something. All right. So, and also this conversation is also not between Boa Lawrence and Ofelo. It's between all of us. Okay, so all those that they have excluded themselves as if they don't want any trouble and all of that, please say so. Let's all engage in this insightful discussion and let's get the main point out of it, and so that we can all learn. Okay. So let's hear from Lawrence, and I'll call one or two other people to join. So one an additional female, one an additional male. So you guys should prepare. I'll call anyone randomly. So let's hear from Lawrence.
Thank you, madam. Now, on the question raised, I want to clarify it. Let me say once and for all. So now let's come down to our homes. Now, when we are hungry, no one determines the type of food we should prepare. That is the government. So, like, no one determines the type of food we should prepare to satisfy our hunger. We decide it, and that we becomes the individual firms. Now, when you try to prepare your food, when preparing your food, you prepare the food, you've added all your ingredients, and then now it is indeed true that you can add any ingredient to prepare the food to satisfy the whole people in your compound. But it's not all ingredients that are needed in that particular food to satisfy the people. Now, that particular ingredient that you will add might turn out to be something else. Let me say a poison. It is not a poison as a whole, but adding that ingredient to another ingredient might turn that to be a poison, and that could poison the food. Now, after preparing the food, and you bring the food on the table, then your mother, being the government, did not come to the kitchen to tell you prepare rice, prepare and no. But when you bring the food on the table and ask you, what did you use to prepare the food? Oh, mom, I used this, I used that. Oh, why did you use this? You should not use this ingredient when preparing a food like this. Now, at that moment, your mother did not tell you what to prepare, but your mother is trying to tell you in order for you to improve the quality and then the welfare of the people that are going to consume the food, do not add this ingredient to the food. So the government does not determine what you should produce, but the government is much concerned about the welfare of the people or of the consumers and then the quality of the goods produced. Please, have I answered your question?
Okay, so let's hear from other submissions. So I want to hear from Comfort. Is she there? Comfort.
Madam,
Yes. I want to hear your voice. So with what men are discussing right now, what's your take on it?
okay. Madam, I think like you said, if a company producing medicine and then the government says that this is not safe, because the government has made an opinion on what is being produced, he thinks that it is making it a socialist economy. But then I think it is still a capitalist economy because the company decided on what to produce and they have produced it. But it is my country and my citizens. So at least I should be able to verify if it is safe for my people. Just verifying for the safety of my people after you have produced it doesn't make it a socialist, because all the processes you went through, it is the outcome that I am criticizing, that it is not safe for my people. So I didn't interfere in the production processes, but just the outcome that I am criticizing, that it is not safe for my people. And if the government interferes in that manner, it doesn't mean that he is taking control of all the production processes. So I think it is still a capitalist society. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All right. All right. Comfort. Comfort. All right. So the argument here is that of fame. So we are saying that in the mixed economy, there is equal opportunities for the government and private individuals, right? And in as much as the private individuals want to get profits, improve their firms and boost their businesses and all of that, the government serves as a check and a balance to align the private individuals to the right path if they are going overboard, to make sure that the welfare of the people are maximized. I think that's all that he's trying to say. That's why he created the instance of if you're at home and you cook something, your mom comes in and all of that. And so it's just the government trying to serve as a check and a balance to ensure that the private businesses do not go overboard. Okay. Okay.
Madam,
Please, are you okay?
yes, please. Okay. Yes, please. I'm okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much thank you very much, Ofe, for your questions. It has sparked a lot of insight, which is very, very good. And I've seen a hand by Asamoah Kwame. Do you have a question or it's an answer or what? Hello, Asamoah.
I think I want. Yeah, I only wanted to add a little
Your
to
voice
what.
is pretty low. Your voice.
Please, can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Sure. We can hear you
Okay, I
loud
only
and
wanted
clear
to add.
now, so you can just.
What I wanted to add is I think now previously Ghana was a socialist because most of the production of goods and services was done by the country, but as of now,
Are you still
we can
speaking?
very much
Yeah.
certain that almost all the economies are predominantly done by the citizens. And at least, hello?
We can hear you loud and clear now. We can hear you. Please continue talking.
Hello?
We can hear you, Asamoah. Asamoah. Yeah, so we can hear you, and I'm sure we heard all that he was trying to say about the socialist and the mixed economy. So thank you very much too for your submission, Asamoah. So I think our time is almost up, and if we don't have
Okay. Like what I'm now the system is a capitalist system because yeah, most of the goods we produce now is done by the citizens. And what the government is doing is only trying to put up measures that will safeguard it. Oh, too bad. The network is it's not giving me. It's not.
we can hear you. It's fine. It's fine, Asamoah. It's fine. But thank you so much for the efforts that you are putting into um to contribute to this class. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah. So all that I was about to say is that our time is almost up, and I've shared the questions with your course rep. So you are supposed to form you are supposed to form 4 groups, and also present a soft copy of your work to me through my email. I've sent in the email to your course rep. Present a soft copy to me, and the deadline is 9th November 2025. It's my email, and you do the presentations next week Sunday, same time that we have our lecture. And I want to highlight that your individual marks will differ from your group marks. That's why each and every one of you in a group has to talk. It's like you are defending your points. You are defending why I should give you 10 out of 10 and give the group 2 out of 10. So if the group gets 8/10, it is not automatically that you also get 8/10. Okay, so it is based on your individual performance plus the group's performance. So that's why I wanted us to close a bit early, but it's all good. You have 7 good days or 6 days to prepare. So make sure you get your groups in touch, ready, and you guys should meet via online or group meeting or discussions. Send your work to my email. Let's do the presentation. And the presentation, there's no, it's actually not automatic that group 1 will start, followed by group 2, followed by group 3, followed by, it can happen that group 4 will start, or group 2 presents again, or group 3 will present it, or group 4 even present, group 1 will present last. So I decide who presents first. Okay, so you should be prepared right at 7 a.m. and come here on time, and let's make this very interactive. Okay, so I've seen Yvonne's hand. Yvonne, say what you want to say.
Example I feel that I want to make, if it can be considered.
Okay, please say it.
Yes, it concerns Sunday mornings. If something can be done about it, and then we can have our time at our lessons.
You can have what?
There can be a change in our time.
To when? To when?
Maybe Sunday in the evening.
Okay, so all right, thank you very much for your suggestion, but unfortunately it is code that determines the time that we should have our lecture, and I'm sure you also have courses. You also have courses that you do, and I don't know what time and day you have those courses. For me, I also wish I could go to church. Like I'm just not happy missing church service every Sunday because of this class. But I make it up with church service by going in the evening. Yeah, so I don't think code can do anything about it. Yeah, I'm sure you have lectures on Friday and Saturdays or something, and it might conflict. And since it's on Sunday, I've also scheduled all my meetings to allow this space of time for you. So as soon as we reschedule it to any other day, it's also going to inconvenience me and some other people too as well. I have a very tough presentation on Wednesday. Trust me. Right now that I'm very hot. I'm extremely hot. Yeah. So I also have other responsibilities I have to handle. Yeah, so unfortunately, I don't think that will work based on my schedules and your other schedules. I'm sure you also have some personal schedules and responsibilities. So, and since Yvonne, we are also almost done. We are almost done with the class, with this course, just about the presentation and solving some likely quiz and exams questions. So we are almost done with the course. So let's just kill it once and for all. And hopefully with our next semester, we pray that we don't have a lecture on Sunday mornings again. That's what I've been praying for.
Okay.
All right, all right. All right, thank you. Okay, do you have any questions, any more questions concerning your presentation or anything you want to say before I finally leave you guys? Because I have a lot of things to do. Yeah, let me hear from you, Kosher.
Thank you, madam. Please, I would like to know if there are some features that you will specify with the soft copy, like the font size, the margins.
Okay,
Are there?
all right. All right, sure. So, I want you to include your names, your full name, your index number. The font size should be 12. It should be in Times New Roman. Should be in a Word format. However, your presentation should be in a presentation slides. So the email that you send to me, it should be in a Word format. But the slides that you present shouldn't be in a Word format. It should be in a presentation like how I present my slides. Okay. And this is very easy, Lawrence. It's very, very easy because as soon as you have your Word, you just copy and paste into the PowerPoint and you have your slide. Okay, so this one is just like 15 minutes or 20 minutes something. After you have all your Word documents in shape, just copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. So just copy and paste, pasting it. And also please learn how to share your slide. Don't come here and frustrate me with I can't share my slides. I don't know how to share my slides. Can you teach me how to share my slides? No. Apart from teaching you how to the content of nature of economics and how to do presentations, you also have to be abreast with technology. Right now we are in the technological age and world, so you should know how to do these things. If you don't know, go on YouTube, search how to present slides in a Google meeting. They will show you just a very short, it's just not um tedious at all. It's just a click. As soon as you click on just one icon, you can share your slide. Learn how to do it, learn how to mute and unmute yourself when it's ready and learn all of these things and don't stress me. Okay. I'm already stressed with a lot of responsibilities, so please don't add yours. Okay. So don't add
Okay,
yours.
madam.
Do you have any questions? Any other questions?
No, no, please.
All right. So I'm glad that you all made it for today's class. And thank you for your contributions. They were excellent. You guys are very good students. And I appreciate each one of you here. And I hope to see you next week. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy life. Laugh more. Pray more. And don't worry about the future. Okay? Everything will be fine. Take care. See you next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Please, I've shared a link in the group. Let's all join so that we will get the number of learners and then we divide it into 4. Thank you.
Boa, please, I'm calling you, so we'll talk privately, okay?
All right. All right.